Hey guys, this is Kerry, and in this video we're going to be creating our first website, an About Me page. So I'm going to start by creating a folder for our website, and I'll call it Control Click, and I'll rename it About About Me. So I'm going to be creating a HTML file that's going to be the HTML file that creates our web page. In order to do this, I'm going to be opening up a program called Sublime Text. Sublime Text is a text editor, and you can use Sublime Text to write code in any language that you'd like. So we're going to be writing code in HTML, so I'll select HTML by clicking on plain text, and then HTML. So in order to figure out how to begin our HTML file, well, first I'll zoom in so people can see. In order to figure out how to begin our HTML file, our first website, I'm going to look at one of the websites that you probably see on a daily basis, which is Google. So I'm going to control click, inspect element anywhere on the page. And this is going to take me to the HTML that created the Google page. And this is actually going to be really similar to the HTML that we write in our first website. So in order to start off, it looks like, I'm going to drag this over here so we can see it. It looks like there's a first line of code, which looks like this. So this is actually a really important line of code that you use to start every single HTML file that you write. So this is the doctype line of code. And what this line of code does is it tells your web browser what version of HTML you're using. And when you type it like this, it tells your web browser that you're using the most recent version of HTML. And that way your web browser, Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, knows how to render the page correctly. So I'm going to save my page into that desktop folder that we created, so about me, and I'll just call this aboutme.html. So you'll notice that has the .html extension, which means that my computer is going to interpret this as an HTML file. If I used .py, it's Python, .js is JavaScript, .css is CSS, but for our first file, we're writing an HTML file. So we'll save it. So with HTML, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating all of the content that appears on the page. So in this video, we're not going to be working with any of the styles, so we're going to have a very simplistic looking web page, which just has the content on it. And in a later video, we're going to be adding style to it. So going to Google Chrome as a reference, it looks like after the doctype line, there's something that like a line that has HTML. So you type less than HTML greater than. And this is an example of something called a tag, T-A-G, in HTML. And tags are actually what HTML is built around. So every time you use a tag, you're going to have an opening tag and something that looks very similar, a closing tag. So the closing tag for HTML is the exact same tag, but with a slash, / right here. And Sublime Text is smart enough that when I typed less than and slash, it knew that because HTML was open here, the open tag, that the next tag had to be the closing tag. So these tags work like parentheses. And what these do is they tell whatever is reading this program, whatever program is reading this program, that everything in here is HTML code. So our HTML code is going to have two sections, just like Google Chrome's. So we're going to have a head. So I'm going to start with an open head tag, and then I'm going to close with a closed head tag. And everything inside of here is going to be the head of my web page. You might guess the next part is going to be the body of the web page. So I'll write a body tag, I'll press enter, and I'll write the ending tag, closing tag for the body. So the body and the head are the two main sections of your web page. The body section, that's everything that actually appears on the page. So when you look at Google's website, it's a logo, the search bar, these buttons, the about, the store, everything here is in the body of the HTML document. The head of the document refers to things that appear off the web page. So things like the fave icon here, or the title of the web page, or the style that's going to be applied to the whole web page. So we're going to do a little bit in the head, but most of the work we do will be in the body of the web page. So I'm going to, just like Google has a title here, I'd like to have a title for my web page. So I'm going to create a title tag and close my title tag. So title isn't a word that I'm making up. None of these words are words I've made up. These are all part of the programming language HTML. There's maybe about 100 different tags that HTML uses, and you just get pretty familiar with them after a while, and we're going to be looking at maybe 10 of them in this video. So I've got my title tags open, and now between these, I'm going to put the title of my web page. So the title of my web page is About Me. I'll save it. So I'd actually like to see how my web page looks. I encourage you guys to test often and early and often. So I'm going to go into that About Me file, and I'm going to click the About Me program. And for me, I can just double click it, and my computer knows that because it's an HTML file, it should just open it with Google Chrome. If your computer opened it with a different program, or you want to open it with a different browser, you can Control-click, open with, and click Firefox or Safari or Google Chrome. I prefer to use Google Chrome because it has those dev tools that we looked at in a previous video. So now we've got our web page open. Oops. Now we've got our web page open, and I'm just going to lock in on these two videos. So you might expect that when you change things in your title tags, so say I add about me -carry here and save it, your web page might automatically change, but that's not the case. You actually can just reopen the file or refresh the web page, and you'll notice that the title changes to match the code that you've been typing. So that's actually all we're going to do inside the head. We're not going to worry about the fave icon yet. That will be at a later time. So now we're going to lay out all the structure of the body. And this is going to be ugly because it has no style. It's the skeleton of the web page. So we're going to start with a header. Let everyone know what our web page is about. So we type header1, which is h1. So we open our h1. We close our h1. And then everything between these two tags will be a giant header across the top of our page. So we'll type about me. Save it. And I'm going to refresh my web page, and I have my about me tag right there. Just like before, if I change this code here, it changes it on the page. So h1 is a built-in function inside of the HTML programming language. Next up, we're going to put a smaller header, a subtitle, and that subtitle will be all about Carrie. And you can actually get smaller and smaller titles all the way down to h3, h4, h5, h6, but h6 is the smallest. So h6 says tiny header, and we've got the about me is the largest, h1, all about Carrie was h2, tiny header is h6, and if I change this to h7, let's see what happens. It goes back to normal. It doesn't know how to read the h7 tag properly because h7 is not a tag. So here I'm going to put a picture during a later video. So I'm going to just leave a blank space there. And I'm going to start my first section of my webpage. So the first section of my webpage is going to be a biography. So I'm going to type h3 biography. And this will create a smaller header. So I have h1, h2, and h3. A smaller header for this section called biography. Now inside of the biography, I want to include some text to let the reader know a little bit about myself. So I'm going to have my opening tag, and I chose P, and I think you can guess why I chose P. It stands for paragraph. I'm going to end my paragraph with a closing tag. Just like all of these, the closing tag is only different using the slash compared to not having the slash. So I open and close. Now everything between here will be my first paragraph. So my first paragraph of my biography is going to be an academic/professional paragraph. And this is about, who I am professionally or academically. So maybe it starts with my birth. So I was born in 1987 in Brooklyn, New York, and blah, blah, blah. Save it and refresh it, and you can see that this is standard normal size text on the page, and it's starting to create a paragraph. So I thought it'd be boring for you guys to watch me write this, so I actually I wrote the text myself before, so I'm going to open the text up in a different window, and I'll copy in my professional paragraph. So I'll save it, and I'll refresh it, and you can see that my paragraph is right here. So for the next part, we're going to put a second paragraph, and you might think, well, I'll just put 2 enters as though I was writing a Word doc or a Google doc, and I can start typing my next paragraph. Since the first paragraph was professional, this one is going to be the personal paragraph. So personal stuff about you, ... I'll save it, and I'll refresh it to see how it looks. And what's interesting is that it doesn't include the enter or the tab that we had before. So that's something really important about HTML, is that it doesn't read all these enters and tabs. It kind of ignores them. So we need a different way to create a second paragraph. So I'm going to undo everything that I did. So to create a second paragraph, what I want to do is, here was my first paragraph between the first 2 tags. Now, to create a second paragraph, I'll create a new set of paragraph tags, and inside here I'll put the personal paragraph. And I'll save it, and I'll refresh it. And you can see that that looks more like what you expect. It's the second paragraph down here, separate from the first one. So just like before, I'm going to copy and paste, oops, I already have it open, copy and paste in my second paragraph about myself. And I'll put that paragraph here. Save it, refresh it, and now I've got my second paragraph. I don't know what it says about me that the second paragraph, my personal life is so much shorter than my work life. But we're going to move on to our next section. So our next section is going to be all about to start our next section, we'll create another header, h3, same size as our biography because they have the same value when it comes to the page. This is the header of one section. This is going to be the header of the next section. So this is going to be my technology that I use. And inside of this, after I put my technology, I'll refresh. And I'm just using Command R to refresh the page so that I don't have to press this button. So this technology section, I'd like you to write a paragraph about some of the technology that you use on a daily basis. So some of the technology that I use, and you can see that that creates the next paragraph. So actually I wrote this up already beforehand as well, so I'll just copy and paste this into my web page. So now I'll save it and I'll refresh it, and I have my first two sections complete, biography and technology. So far we've seen the H1, H2, H3, all the way down to H6 header tags, and we've seen the paragraph tag. In the next section, again, equal weight, because this is an equal section to biography and technology. So I'll create a H3 tag here, another H3 tag here, and I'm going to be creating a two truths and a lie section. And I'm going to be giving the reader just some advice in another paragraph that says the list below displays two truths and a lie about me. See if you can guess the lie. So now I'm going to list out my two truths and a lie. So I'll save this and I'll refresh it, and you can see that that's appearing already on the page. And next up, I need to create a list. And so for this, I'm going to create an ordered list. And the tag for an ordered list is OL. So I'm not making any of the tags up. These tags are part of the programming language. And I'm going to close my ordered list here. So everything inside of here is going to be part of my list. So my two truths and a lie, let's see. My first truth is going to be, or my first, I don't know if it's a truth or a lie, my first one is going to be, I am a vegetarian. My next my next possible truth or lie is going to be, I've attended 4 colleges. And my last truth or lie is going to be, I have broken both of my legs before. So now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to refresh my page. And you can see that there's a problem here. I said this was going to be an ordered list, but this isn't much of a list. It just put the sentences indented a little bit. So actually, to create these as list items, what I need to do is I need to tell the HTML that inside of my ordered list tag, I have a list item that starts here, li, and my first list item ends here. I have a second list item that starts here, and that list item ends here. And I have a third list item that starts here, and that third list item ends here. And now what you see is I've got a list that's displayed properly. It's an ordered list, so we have 1, 2, and 3. All right, finally, to finish up, we're going to be creating one last section. So this is going to be another H3 tag. This section is going to be my 5 favorite films. And I'm going to just create a paragraph saying what I'm doing below. So my 5 favorite films are listed below in no order. So because I'm doing this in no order, this idea of using an ordered list might be misleading. I'm going to create an unordered list below. And what an unordered list will do is instead of having numbers here on the page, it will have bullet points. And that way nobody thinks that the first one I list happens to be my favorite movie. It's just the first one that came to mind. So favorite films are, let's see, Pan's Labyrinth. Why I choose this, I don't know, because I can't spell this word. Sorry. There we go. Next up, I'm going to have The Summit. Next up, I'll have, let's see, Dr. Strangelove. And finally, next up, I'll have Amelie. And then I love the movie Up. So I'll save it, I'll refresh my page, and I've got everything on the page looking great. Now one thing I thought would be fun to make the page look more interesting is to add a couple of emojis maybe. So if you're using a Mac, you can get to your emoji keyboard by pressing Control, Command, Space. And that brings up your emoji keyboard. I don't know why they chose that one. So maybe for The Summit, which is a movie about rock climbing, or mountain climbing, I'll type in mountain, and I've got a mountain right here. So I can put that mountain right there. And I'll save it. And we're done with our first web page. And when I refresh it, you can see